that although discouraged often, it happens to everybody, just remembering we like to see you belong in the room.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a real quick story. There's a great
Yeah.
documentary called Moss Songs in the New Basement Tapes. And if you're a Bob Dylan fan, I'm not the biggest Dylan fan, but what they did, Sony Records gave Mumford from Mumford and Son, My Morning Jacket, Elvis Costello, all these lyrics that Dylan had, and they put them on their sound stages and came out and jammed. And one young guy, they're interviewing him, and he's like, I can't believe I'm here with my mentors, but I was invited, so I belong in the room. And I
Oh,
think
that's
that is
awesome.
the most important thing to remember.
Yeah.
We are told that we have to know what we want, how we're going to do what we're going to do, but we only have to know what we've done and be able to talk about that.
Yeah. And I love that you said that because, um, when we've gone through education, right, the advanced
Mm-hmm.
degrees and all of that
Mm-hmm.
lovely stuff that we do, for
Mm-hmm.
some reason we tell ourselves in here that
Mm-hmm.
now we know it all, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't. And we have to learn to say, we're big at American Heritage College about being the professional
Mm-hmm.
knowledge broker. Well, a
Mm-hmm.
knowledge broker is somebody that can be strong with the skills he or she has, but
Yes.
knows that he doesn't know or she doesn't know everything and is willing to
Mm-hmm.
ask. And like you said, I see what you're saying. When that person says,
Mm-hmm.
I was invited here, so I know something,
Yes.
right?
I
I
belong
have a
here. You have to know
skill.
what you're going to do next.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
other thing I
awesome.
think people don't realize, and I realize this in my advertising career. I remind students daily. Every place has a different system, being the new buzzword, for executing the same task.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an ability to say, you know what, you don't have to know. You only have to know what you've done. And that's where this relevance factor comes in.
Mm-hmm.
How has what you've done, how is it relevant to what you can do?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes, absolutely. I love it. Um, so and you're probably you kind of maybe answered this next question, but still,
Mhm.
why do you think the professional mindset is important for people to use in his or her daily life?
Well, in general, life
Hmm.
throws us curveballs, as we all know. And we've all been through it this past year. And I think if you can remind yourself in your core, you've done great things, even the
Hmm.
things you don't utilize every day. It took me a while when I realized I wasn't interested. One day I literally, it was like, it happened to me. I didn't want to do advertising anymore, but
Yeah,
that was the only thing I knew. And that was my identity too.
yeah, yeah,
As a working woman, and to have that, not feel that anymore, was a really hard disassociation. But just because I didn't want to do advertising didn't mean I didn't acquire excellent skills in the process.
yes,
So I think it is, again, reminding ourselves, it's not about, you don't have to necessarily know what you're going to do next. I propose you don't know what you're going to do next,
yeah,
but know
yeah,
what you've done, and be proud of that. Because if you can't be proud of yourself, how do you expect other people to be proud of you? If you can't represent yourself in a way, you have to be the first one to
hmm,
acknowledge your abilities for other
yeah,
people to even begin to. So I
yeah.
think every day, whether it's being a mom or a teacher or a friend, reminding us we belong in the room.
Absolutely. And that's wonderful you say that. It's interesting. This morning, I was coming home from the gym this morning, and on the drive, I've had friends of mine, like on my Facebook page, they'll be like, "Man, Terry, you're not doing your lives anymore. What's going on?" Something hit my head, right? That said, not literally, of course, but
Are you okay?
something said to me, it was like, you know what? Just go on live real quick
Mm-hmm.
and talk to people about positivity for the day.
Yeah.
Talk to them about being their professional selves. Talk to them about just
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what their success is,
Yeah.
right? And you
Yes.
have said that many times just now, and it was, and I always say it to my friends on live that find your success. Don't worry about it being monetary. It's
Right.
about being happy. That's what life should be about. And
I
again, that's
can.
something we want to focus on. Now, the next thing you talked about being proud, right?
Mhm.
What are you most proud of?
Aside from my children and being a mom, I was someone that was raised. I don't know if you remember the show Who's the Boss.
Yes.
I was raised wanting to be Angela Bauer in advertising. I wasn't the girl that planned a wedding in my head, and so
Yeah.
I was very fortunate enough to have my two amazing kids. I think I hadn't held a child until I held mine.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would have let me have kids if they knew that. Currently, I'm a single mom, and it is an honor to have the role, and this is why I'm an educator, to
Yeah.
have a role to influence people and
Nice.
how they lead their lives. I think any parent can attest to. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but we have little control. We have great influence. I look
Yes.
at that with my students too. And we want people to advocate for themselves. And I can say I've approached my own life the same way.
Yeah.
Who influences me and how, as an adult now, do I influence myself?
Hmm.
And I also most proud of that. And I'm also most proud of School to Life
Hmm.
and what we've created out of sheer wanting to change and disrupt the education process
Yes.
to really teach the skills that in my college course I'm teaching students, but it's so late in the game.
Yeah.
I have the opportunity now to help folks recognize their achievements
Yeah.
in middle school and in high school, and that changes their trajectory. And I'm just, as I say to my students, I'm kind of just the crazy lady you listen to, but it is them turning themselves on to them. And
Yeah.
that is an amazing thing to get to watch. So I'm most proud of the work I've done as a mom. And it is not dissimilar from the work I get to do with School to Life.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So it's so funny. When I was younger, I was never one that had a problem with confidence, we'll say, and speaking
Mm-hmm.
about myself. But
Mm-hmm.
as I got older, I was taught that we don't do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when we're helping individuals, or at least it's been my experience over the years, that it's very hard to talk about our accomplishments because,
Mm-hmm.
again, we're afraid that we're bragging, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think
Yeah.
it's very important that we can help people to know that there's a difference between being arrogant and being confident.
Cocky and confident.
Yeah, right. Because unfortunately, I was one of those kids,
Well,
and
I
that,
was too. I was
right.
like, I'm great in the room. I don't need to rehearse. But this is
Yes.
where, as we say being able to communicate with sophistication, relevance, and confidence is the trifecta of skills
Mhm.
necessary that's required to make a great first impression. And I think to what you said, the difference there is going to be relevant.
Yeah.
So why are you sharing what you're sharing? But also to say, oh, I did this and I met this person, or speak the language in my
Yes.
process of execute, that's a conversation. And
Yes.
that is received as intellectual, as thought provoking, as opposed to, I had this job, I met this person, so it's
Yeah.
how we do what we do. And again, this goes back to marketing yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Why do we buy brands that we buy? We do a great exploration of this.
Yeah.
Think about, what do you want to be known for? So if we think about these things ahead of time, we have less that we close the gap in how we're perceived. I do believe we all get to own our first impression.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Now, with School to Life, how
Mhm.
have you been able to support student success initiatives after COVID?
Sure. So we launched actually a platform pre-COVID. Let's take a step back and think about show and tell, right? What did we do
Hmm.
for show and tell as kids? We showed things we did or we were interested in, we talked about them. Those are the same skills necessary to get into college and to get a job. And
Hmm.
as we all know as professionals, to thrive in the real world. That's what we do. That's what we're doing now.
Hmm.
So to get, so pre-COVID and from teaching college kids, we launched a platform called School to Life Gallery, which
Hmm.
taught the critical skills of self-assessment, very basically. And it was a platform they can upload from their phone or their PC, all the amazing things they're doing in and out of the classroom. And then we give them what's called a guest pass, which is an elevator pitch. We all know, again, this goes back to making a great first impression. If you can't present yourself in a way that's respectful, you're going to lose people. Those are the people you want to help versus the people you want to hire. So COVID was really interesting because a couple things happened. As we launched this platform, it became far more relevant, especially now that colleges and the college admission process has changed. So now they're saying, well, we're not going to look at test scores as much, if at all, but now we want to see everything you've done. Well, no one has told our students to save their work.
Yes.
So they don't know what they've done. But yet to get into college and to write that essay, you have to talk about what you've done. We are laser focused, the middle school. It's a personalized yearbook, basically. Right now I spend $60 on a yearbook. My kids may be in one or two pictures.
Right.
So the other thing that's happened since COVID or because of COVID that we've realized is education isn't happening September through June. It happens all year round. And somehow we have discredited what our kids are doing in the summer. It's not valued. And those are their experiences. Those are they're on the ground, they're working, they're at camp, they're teaching, they're lifeguard, whatever. And somehow we've posed no value to that.
Yeah.
So gallery has now become, it's really interesting. And then you also look at it from a social emotional, just a self-esteem, right? Because when you see your work in front of you, you physiologically get turned on to yourself and you see your growth and you see your potential. So COVID, we have been able to help students stay positive and grow. There's been a lot of focus on what our kids have missed. And yes, they've missed a lot, but we want to talk about what they've done. They are tech savvier. They are hanging in there. And sometimes just hanging in there is the most amazing feat you can do. So gallery exists because there's a need to teach this stuff when college and career are not on the line. But during COVID, it proved much more relevant in helping our kids stay positive and stay confident.
Very good. That's wonderful. And how can someone see your gallery, or how can they get access to that?
So go on schooltolife.com. You'll see a couple of our platforms, or gallery.schooltolife. It's $20 annually. And what's really cool is when our kids are seeing a college counselor or a mentor or getting a job, this gives someone their portfolio. But we have to remember, I think Pinterest meets LinkedIn, but our kids this is when they're pre-LinkedIn, and I believe kids that are graduating college need a full-blown portfolio.
Yes.
But it's easier to talk about ourselves if we have visuals.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah, that's funny.
Every time saying to your kids, hey, what'd you do today?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When I ask I do
the same thing. Nothing. Just another day. But
we did about the same thing as we did yesterday. We didn't learn anything.
Tell them to put those things on their gallery.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Wow. What advice do you wish someone told you when you were your younger self? What is something you wish you would have been told? And I love this question because this is one of the nice parts about being a knowledge broker. When we share things, if we can help somebody avoid our mistakes or what we didn't know, it would be helpful. So please.
There's a lot. I mean, first and foremost, save your work. Save the things that you've done because they matter. Whether I was running track or in a play, you spend all this time preparing and practicing for the play. The play has its weekend run and it's gone. Yes. So we're not savoring our own work. I was less a student, more an athlete, more out there in the world. I'm a very practical person. I think this notion that we all think we know what we're doing. I wish someone said, don't know what you're doing, because if you're deciding what you're going to do based on what you've done, you're too young, you haven't done enough. Right? So, I mean, know what you've done, but be open to what you can do. And I wish I had someone like me for me, or like you for me. It just said you belong in the room. You'll be fine.
That's
will be
awesome.
fine.
Yeah. And you did mention it earlier, the fact that you were an athlete and things. We are people that are kind of told that. My CEO, when we're talking, and sometimes when we're talking to the team, we talk about when it comes to the college students, you get the college marketing, that 10% top 10%,
Mhm.
but then what happens to everybody else, right? And
Yeah.
that's where somebody like yourself, and I feel like us can help
Mhm. Sure.
someone.
Yep.
Because like you say, I often say to people, well, okay, you're done college. What now? Right?
Mhm.
People have to go to work because guess what? Now they have student loans. And
Mhm.
so, if we can help them find their way back to what they love and what they
Yeah.
like and
Yeah.
approach it like you said,
Mhm.
school to life, it's
Yeah.
very wonderful. So, in closing, is there anything you would like to share that maybe you didn't get an opportunity to with the group that's listening and watching?
I think just take yourself on. I went from living my best life to living my best moments.
Ah,
So literally, it keeps the bar in a place that's achievable and you can exceed it regularly. And I
mm-hmm.
think in today's day and age, um, just keep going. We joke in my family from the movie Nemo, just keep swimming, just keep
Yes,
swimming.
right. Yes.
And talk to people. There's people that everyone listening, call me, call Terry. There are people around you. You do not
Mhm.
have to do it alone. And what you realize is nobody's doing it alone. It's,
Yeah.
rely on the people around you to help figure stuff out, but it is easier for people to help you if you can show and share what you've done. And again, that is why we created School to Life Gallery. It
Yeah.
exists to bring successful programming from institutions, just bring it to life so people can start to talk about it. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And one more
Thank you
time.
so much for
Yeah, one
having
more
me.
time before we end, share your link to everybody, your
Sure.
website.
It's school, SCHOOL, the number 2 in the word life, like you're leaving school and starting your life, or you're bringing everything you're doing in school
Yeah.
to life.com. You will find School to Life Gallery on our homepage, and you'll learn a little bit about us too.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for being part of the
Thank
show.
you.
It's been wonderful to converse with you. And again, everybody, I love when I get to talk with Susan. Check her out on all of her different places that she's
Yeah.
available, and especially on her website. Thank you very much, Susan. I appreciate
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do good work. It's a pleasure.